You're listening to Free-ish in Higher Ed. Hey y'all, welcome to the very first episode of Free-ish in Higher Ed. I am so excited to be here. This has been on my heart, my mind, and my spirit for a long time, and I am so grateful that things have finally aligned so that I could launch season 1 this summer. In this first episode, I just want to introduce myself, share a little about my journey, break down the meaning behind the name, and give you a peek at what's coming later this season. So first and foremost, my name's Chelsea, and I am a child of God. I really got to start there. But I'm also a mom and a passionate advocate. I serve my church and my community, and I give back whenever and wherever I can. I found my voice, and now I'm really in the process of learning how to use it in order to have a positive impact. I'm currently working on my bachelor's degree in integrated studies at Abilene Christian University with a focus on psychology and criminal justice. I transferred there from Tarrant County Community College, and like a lot of students, I didn't take the straight path to get here, but I'm here. That's really what matters. I'm also a first-gen non-traditional student. That means I'm the first in my family to go through college like this, and I didn't come in fresh out of high school. I'm a parenting student, so I work, I've transferred, I've taken breaks, and I've lived a little in between. Honestly, I didn't even know what non-traditional meant for a very long time, and it turns out a lot of us fit that category, but higher ed was built with traditional students in mind. So this podcast is for people who usually don't get invited into the conversation, students who are parenting, starting over, or figuring it out as they go. And I am definitely still figuring it out as I go. I have learned to really lean into that, and it has been a beautiful process for me to just go with the flow. I'm still figuring things out here and there, but I am on my way. And to the people making policies, the higher ups, this is for you too. Because when you actually listen to student voices, when you sit with our stories, that's when real change can happen. We're in a time where it feels like everything's being taken from us. But if we speak up together, we can still amplify student voices and shine a light on things that matter. This podcast is about real stories, real people, and what it really takes to move through college, especially when the system wasn't built with you in mind. We're going to cover a lot this season, but more than anything, I want to uplift the people who sometimes doubt themselves, not because they aren't capable, but because the system has a way of making you question your worth. I've had people believe in me, and that's really the only reason I'm still here. So if you've ever felt like school wasn't built for people like you are not alone. Let's get into it. So let's talk about the name Free-ish. Have you seen the phrase free-ish since 1865? Well, if you haven't, that's rooted in Juneteenth, when enslaved people in Texas were finally told they were free, more than 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. For over 2 years, they were legally free, but no one told them. The people in power simply chose not to. They decided what was best for them because they were still profiting off of free labor. They chose to withhold that truth and keep their foot on their necks. That silence was a deep betrayal. I want to pause right here and say I honor my ancestors, the ones who built this country but were never meant to benefit from it. Their strength, survival, and resilience runs through me. The way they held on to hope even when hope was stolen. This podcast is part of that legacy. Speaking truth is part of that legacy because honestly, that betrayal can still be felt today. We're told we're free to go to college, to change our lives, and create a brighter future. But real access to those things depends on who gets the information. A lot of us never hear about Pell Grants, scholarships, or college refund checks. And if we do, and you're the first one in your family to go to college, it's a lot to understand. It's tough to navigate that. You're thrown into a world of paperwork and financial jargon that makes no sense. I didn't know that I'd get a refund check and a loan at the same time. The information is out there, but without anyone to guide you, it's so easy to get lost in the mix. We don't miss out because we lack ability, ambition, or intelligence, but because the system makes it hard to access the resources and information we need, especially when we're figuring it out on our own. I live in one of the highest crime zip codes in my city. Education, mental health, and housing are the top 3 resources we need the most. I've seen so many programs and resources, but they're just not accessible for those that need them the most. On paper, it looks like there's so much help. It looks like help is available, but the reality is it's hard to get. The system is built to look fair for people who are not impacted by those things. So, sure, there's shelters, education programs, services, but try calling 211 and see how many numbers you get. I'm sure you'll get a lot, but how many of those will actually help you get tangible support? That's why I'm so passionate about this project and being a voice for those who need it the most. I've navigated through the system myself, and I'm proud to say I'm a college graduate today, still working towards my next degree. We're free-ish, that's what free-ish means to me. It's freedom and opportunity on paper, but barriers in real life. And when it comes to free-ish in higher ed, it's not just a name. For me, it's personal. So when I say it's personal, I mean it. Let me tell you why. When I was a kid, I had these huge dreams, being a doctor, a lawyer, maybe even the first female president. Who knows? But they were the kind of dreams that require an education. At 14, I dropped out of high school, not because I wanted to, but because my mom got sick and suddenly I was the one taking care of my siblings. Just like that, school was not an option anymore. I remember thinking, that's it. I'm dead. Just another statistic now. By 17, I found myself sitting at the head of a round table in a megachurch boardroom, meeting with the elders. I wasn't there for me. I wasn't seeking spiritual guidance. I was there begging for help with my rent. I didn't know where else to go, and I didn't have anyone else to ask for help. We were about to get evicted, and I was really scared. After I explained our situation, they gently told me they couldn't help with the bills. But one of them looked at me and said, "What about you?" I was like, "What about me?" I wasn't thinking about me. I was there on behalf of my mother and my siblings. They asked me, "Why aren't you in school? You're too smart not to be in school." They offered to pay for my GED and wrote the check on the spot. I was really confused. I came for rent money and left with an opportunity for myself instead. It didn't really feel right. I walked out of that church feeling like I'd failed my family. But looking back, I really feel as if God used them to reach me in that moment, in that time when I wasn't even thinking about myself, when I didn't see the path that was laid before me, and to provide something for me that I didn't even know that I needed, because that GED became my first step forward to my higher education. Nobody ever told me that a GED was enough to start with. Growing up, all I heard was finish high school, go to a good university, start a career. Nobody mentioned that there were other routes. Nobody said a GED could get you into college too. It was around 2010, and those University of Phoenix commercials were everywhere. You can do classes online. You can make your own schedule. Online degree programs were still new at the time, but I really wanted the flexibility of not only going to a university, but not having to put my daughter in daycare. So it felt like a win-win. So I enrolled. They sold me a dream, but what they didn't explain was the cost and what non-transferable credits actually meant. So 1 year and $10,000 in debt later, I learned my first hard life lesson in higher ed. When I eventually tried to enroll in community college a few years later, I found out they were withholding my transcripts until I paid them. Those lessons that I learned the hard way are what drive my passion for higher education advocacy. I kept pushing forward though. About 5 or 6 years later, I earned my real estate certificate, and I was so proud of that. I had a vision of myself wearing suits, being a real estate agent, working for Keller Williams, having my face on the for sale signs on all my houses that I would be selling. And the market was good at the time. It wasn't too bad, so I would have been able to make some decent money. However, I couldn't get licensed because I was on probation. And it was like the universe was telling me, not yet, not yet. After a while, I started to think if it just wasn't for me. So I completely stopped thinking about my education and focused on raising my daughters. Don't worry, life threw me plenty of challenges in the meantime to keep me busy. A little after COVID, something clicked. I was talking with a friend and she was encouraging me to check out Tarrant County's online programs. And I was like, girl, no, it's not for me. I'm too old. I'm a mom. I'm in my 30s. I haven't thought about, like, I've already tried that and it didn't work out. And so I applied just so that I could get rejected and sent her the email. But when I got accepted, it completely changed my mindset. This time, it wasn't just about getting a degree, it was about finding my purpose. I got heavily involved in student leadership. I got active being a peer leader. I got on the event planning committee. I ended up gaining several opportunities to use my voice for students. And I'll get more into that in another episode where I will get into how student leadership opened up so many opportunities that I couldn't even imagine for myself. I realized my story could help change things for others walking the same road. Looking back now, which I actually had to make a timeline to discover, it's been a total of 15 years from when I first tried college to finally getting my associates. I can see that the system tried to keep me out, but I persisted. I overcame, and now I have my associate's degree. I'm so proud to say that I'm the first in my family to have a college degree. And it's not just about having the resources, it's about knowing they exist and how to navigate them and having someone show you how to use them. That's why this project matters so much to me, because I was that person, lost, trying to figure it out alone, hitting walls for years, but now I'm not alone. Now I have mentors. So before I wrap up, I want to acknowledge the 3 women who've changed everything for me. Pastor Crawford, who creates opportunities for me to grow as a community leader. Dr. Moody, who picked me up when I fell down and believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. And Dr. Jackson, whose invitation to her podcast, Hot Sauce Talks, sparked this whole journey. These powerful Black women pour into me and help me along the way, and I'm grateful beyond words. This podcast isn't just about me, it's about the power of education and amplifying student voices. In the coming episodes, we're going deep into the real challenges facing students today. We'll tackle the mental health crisis nobody wants to talk about. We'll break down the financial barriers that keep brilliant minds from reaching their potential. We'll explore what authentic leadership looks like in spaces that weren't built for us. And I also want to highlight student leaders that show up every day in spaces where they may not feel wanted. I'm bringing on guests who've walked these paths, people who've struggled, who've questioned, who fought the system and found ways to thrive despite it. We'll share not only stories, but strategies, real tools you can use when you feel stuck or lost. Because education isn't just about degrees or classrooms, it's about transformation. It's about claiming your power in a world that often tries to diminish it. It's about building communities that lift each other up instead of competing for scraps. So if you're feeling overlooked, underestimated, or just plain tired, know that this space is for you. We're going to navigate this journey together. That's why I created this podcast, to build a community where we all have a voice. Let's create ripples of change that grow into waves. Start by seeing someone today, really seeing them. Even if you just smile at a stranger, remind them that they matter. We're free-ish, but we're claiming our space unapologetically. Thanks so much for listening, and I can't wait to continue this conversation with you next time. Hey, before you close out this episode, I want to take a second to talk directly to you. If something in this conversation hit home, if it made you feel seen or made you think differently about your place in higher ed, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to a friend. Share it with someone who's walking a similar path. Post it on your story, tag us, talk about it in class, wherever you are. This is your space too. And if you've got a story you've been holding on to, something you've experienced in college and community work in life, and you think it needs to be heard, I want to hear it. Seriously, this isn't about being perfect. This is about being real. You can email me at free.ishpodcast@gmail.com. That's free.ishpodcast@gmail.com, or DM me on Instagram at free.ishpodcast. Tell me what's on your mind. Ask a question. Share your experience. You never know who's waiting to hear your story. And before we go, I need to say this real quick. This podcast is dedicated to my daughters. You are my why. You're the reason I stayed up late writing papers and kept pushing when I felt like quitting. You're the reason I believe in what I'm doing. Everything I've learned, everything I'm fighting for, it's for you. Thank y'all for being here. I'm Chelsea, and this is Free-ish in Higher Ed.